on this edition of the Hoel Roofing and Remodeling Podcast today. My special guest is Mr. Smith. He's a teacher over at the Rushville High School, and he has come down so graciously because of Mr. Cook, the newer, I believe Mr. Cook's in his second year at principal.
Yep.
And came down. He already retired from Newcastle. Mr. Cook got him out of retirement to come down and teach construction and facility maintenance. And, of course, if you watch the podcast, listen to it, we had Mr. Cook on several months ago, and I said, hey, we've got to connect. And so it's just, I'm excited. I'm going to give you a second to introduce yourself and just I'm going to let you kind of talk about, like, you know, what you do for the school, and kind of like you've done this a long time in your life. You've got some passion, and we really connected. So take a minute and introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Brett Smith. Came down from Newcastle. Mr. Cook, as he said, is an old friend of mine. We taught together for, I think, 17 years at Newcastle. He was a football coach, and he's just a high-energy guy, as you probably know. And I know the kids really like him. And you know, I was leaving Newcastle, and he said, you know, hey, I got a spot down here I think you could fit in. And he kind of knew what my interests are, my background, and I was there for 37 years. I started there in 86, 87, taught traditional industrial tech, industrial arts, and into manufacturing, and then got into vocational school. And in Newcastle, we taught a facility maintenance class. It was from my perspective, it was for special ed kids, giving them opportunities to get work experience and get them out in the community working with quite a bit of success. And we track the kids, so we know kind of where the successes were, where the failures were. But the philosophy was we never sent a kid out to the public that we didn't feel confident he would be successful, because I think it's like anything, whether it's a good coach, a bad coach, a good teacher, a bad teacher. If a kid has a bad experience, he doesn't want to come back for more. And so we want to put kids out there where they're going to be successful, and then they want to work and go back, and then the employer's willing to take more people, because if you send out somebody that drops the ball, you know, or creates an issue, they're kind of gun shy, especially in a small community. Yeah. So when I came to last year, when I came to Rushville, we started a facility maintenance program. We had about 12, 15 kids, and we also started a construction course. The construction course falls under what's called the CTE, or Career and Technical Ed, and it's a pathways. They're always changing the diplomas that kids get. And the pathways is kind of, they try to get them on the track. You know, like some kids, hey, I'm going to college, and, you know, this it doesn't mean that's what you're going to do. It's just they try to find an interest. And like my philosophy is, I think a lot of times kids hear what their parents want them to do, or what their guidance counselor wants them to do. I try to say, what's your thing, you know? And then just because you take that trip doesn't mean that's where you're going to end up. It kind of, you know, you can modify your goals and your you know, interests and stuff. But so we started these classes to try to get more interest in that pathways, and the goal is to kind of, I think they're going to start trying to add some vocational classes. And I know that this year they added the law enforcement, the fire, rescue, and the police, and also something, I think it was like a media class, or a graphic media or whatever, through Amy Fox, which came from Shelbyville for the same reason. She came here because of her expertise, and it's really going well. And so the construction class, we've got about 65 kids in there now, which is, for a school our size, is pretty good. So the goal is to get these kids enough, you know, like orientation to something that they might pursue further. The goal, I think, initially is to come up with a vocational school, or a building trades class here locally, because, as you know, I mean, Rushville's going to grow, and it has to have people, you know, local people to help do that. And hopefully, you know, we're going to spawn some interest in that, and not just construction, but all the related careers, all the skilled trades go with the electricians, the plumbing, the heating, cooling, all that stuff. And the kids are really, I notice a big difference here. The kids at Rushville, like, are the kind of the county kids we had in Newcastle. Not all of them, but it seemed like some of those, and we talked about this before, some of the better kids were farm kids or county kids. I don't know if it's their work ethic, whatever, but here you still got some kids that want to clown around stuff, but on a grander scale, the kids are really into what's going on. We do modeling and stuff. We start a project. We just like you would on a normal job site in the building trade. You know, we used to build a house from start to finish. We do the same thing, but we do it through scale modeling. And we start with the foundations, and we explain everything. We explain the new technology in the processes. The materials are different. you know, back when I learned, I think we talked about this, we never used trusses for anything. We stick frame build everything. And now there's all these LVLs and these engineered materials that make it so much easier and actually quicker.
Right.
And so that's kind of our focus. And Mr. Cook's been behind this a lot. Mr. Jameson obviously had to get on board with the school board. You know, you're bringing an old guy in, you know, but the problem is just not that many people are going into teaching.
Well, and I mean, that's one thing that I really appreciated when I spoke to Mr. Cook, because, you know, this is 19 years ago when I graduated, so I'm dating myself here a little bit, but I felt like we were so pushed to go to the university. You had to get a 4-year degree, you know, and fortunately my dad, he encouraged an associate's degree. I was very fortunate. My stepmom worked at a technical college, so I got 2 years of free tuition, and, you know, nice. I paid for tech books.
Right.
I paid for tech fees and books. But I got an environmental engineering degree, and here I'm running a construction company. My wife is I say second in command, but we all really know the truth that she runs the darn place. She's got a medical assisting degree, you know. So, and there's nothing wrong with education, but I feel like we've and not to get on a political run or anything, but with student loans, we've literally just let college tuition just skyrocket.
Right.
You know, where nobody says if kids had to pay cash to go to school, and I know I'm going to get some hate for that. However, how much cheaper would college be? And then now, like you said, like electrician, plumbers, like, I mean, my electrician guy that I use, like, I know what he charges me per hour, and holy cow, I don't know too many people making that kind of money with an education. But what I loved about Mr. Cook was he's like, hey, I understand there's certain people that are just going to go get a job right out of college or right out of high school, and it may be a factory job, and that's fine. He goes, then there's a part of them that's going to go into trades or whatever, and there's still the part that's going to go to college, to university, which is completely fine. But just he does his energy. Like, when you said that, like, it gave me a burst of energy, and he's not even in here, you know.
Right. Well, you're right, because honestly, you know, there's like my kids, what they wanted to do just simply requires credentials.
Yep.
But like, I think when our first conversation, 3 of my most successful friends didn't spend a single day in college, and they don't, you know, discount college, but it just wasn't for me. Right. I said, what I want to do, I mean, I'm sure there's some things I can pick up, you know, but, you know, how to run my business, X, Y, and Z. But the bottom line is, I know what I need to do. I know the vehicle, and I just want to get on that train, because I remember for years I'd watch these kids. The kids I watched go through school all 4 years, whether they're my kids' friends. I'd watch them at the last day of school. They have this senior walk where they walk through the hallways, and all their underclassmen, you know, send them off, you know. And I see the 3 different. The first one, I see the kid that knows exactly what he's going to do. Hey, I joined the military. I'm going to Ball State. I'm going to go work as a truck driver for my uncle's company. I'm going to go put roofs in for whole roofing or whatever they have it. Okay, then you have the ones that have all the options. Well, I might go here. I'm going to think about this. Well, if I don't go to college, play baseball, you know, and then you got the percentage of kids that have no clue. They have not given one thought. As much as everybody tells them every day in class, they're going, hey, you know, that's why they're pushing these pathways. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get these kids to bite into something, okay? But one of the greatest things the state of Indiana has done for education in recent time is outlawing cell phones.
Yeah.
Because if a kid's on a cell phone, it doesn't matter what you're talking about, what you're giving them, they're not interested in. And I'll give this Mr. Cook. They started this last year at the cell phones. They said, hey, you can have them in the hallway at lunch. So this year, when they just made it, you can only have them in lunch, the transition was a lot easier. There's a lot of schools that didn't have any cell phone policy. And so that's a good start. And so even like this year, I've noticed a difference in kids. I mean, there's still kids that want to screw around, but they're into what we're doing. They want to get their hands on stuff. I was that way. You know, I was a right brain learner. I had to see it and do it. I didn't want to sit in my chair, and that's how it is. Like when my first job, you know, 40 years ago, I had to be on time, and it was early. I had a 10-minute break. I had a 30-minute lunch. I had a 10-minute break. I drove home and did it again the next day. I wasn't on my cell phone. I wasn't and it's hard for kids to think that's the norm. But I'm optimistic that I think as much success as we had early on, it's kind of early on, that it's going to keep getting better. And when I have a way to send the kids, I said, here's a path for you. I know this guy that he does this, and if that's something you want to pursue, I'm going to help you get there.
Right.
Because you've done what I asked you to do. I'm going to do what I said I would do for you. And I think Mr. Cook and I have that same belief, and it works. I mean, it works because I can go back and track these kids and show you this is what we do at work. We started Unified Track this year at Rushville. I don't know if you know what Unified Track is. Unified Track is for special ed kids, okay? And at all levels. And it's 9 through 12, and they get to participate in high school sports, track and field. There's 5 events, and they participate along with general ed kids. So they have a partner. They get a ride on the school bus. They get to we have a sectional, regional, have dual meet, just like everybody else. And that's huge because what that does, it breaks down that barrier between these kids and the rest of the student body. So now they become friends with these kids, and they're not just, because it used to be special ed, you walk down the hallway with a special ed group, hallway kind of splits, and these kids are interacting, they're fist bumping, they're sitting with them at lunch, and they have something in common. And their self-esteem, it just builds confidence in these kids. And it's the same thing when they want to go out and work, they want to contribute, and they want to do their thing without being, made fun of and being ridiculed and, exploited and stuff. And so that's one of the greatest things that I've ever been involved with. And when you go to a track meet like that, you see all these kids, you realize there's a lot of people out there that need help, that are in the cracks, so to speak. And it brings a lot of awareness to it. And in Newcastle last year, it was incredible. I mean, the amount of support we had. And there's a lot of things about Rushville that I feel that way, like how they do their homecoming. They do it right. I mean, it was like, and we came down, Melinda and I came down there, and we were apart, and we saw it, and it was like, this is something you see like in Texas. Right. And the community gets together and supports it. And I mean, to me, I have yet to have anybody push back on anything I've asked for. Like when I go to talk to business, hey, I got this kid, I would like to try it. They go, yeah, we'll give him a try.
Well, and one thing, I got laughed at when I said I wanted to start a roofing company in Rushville, and then, you can never grow it so big. And, now I'm fortunate to have a position like Adam behind the camera right now that he loves media, he loves the content, that kind of stuff that I know is very important for my business, but I have zero skill set for it. And it's pretty cool to know that he's a home-raised kid, that he's doing that kind of work in literally 3 minutes from his house, and I always say this, everybody wants to complain, oh, these kids suck these days. Well, no, I'm going to blame the parents.
Yeah, I mean.
But like, how many business owners are complaining, but how many business owners show up at the school? Like, I reached out to Mr. Cook, like, hey, Mr. Orm, retired ag teacher, connected us, and I said, yeah, let's get together. And, so I'm like, how can I help? That's how we got connected, you know. And, like, that's when you'll hear us talk a lot about legacy around here and, like, what's your legacy? I mean, like, your legacy is imprinted in how many people? Because you just helping place people in positions at companies, that gives an opportunity for another person to be hired, another family affected that you never even know about, you know. And, like, teachers, teachers are kind of like business owners. Like, you have a lot of opportunities to affect positive in a lot of people that may never really ever know your name or know you directly, but that opportunity that you provide, and that's what, I was excited to hear that because it's what our community needs. Like, I want to hire homegrown talent. Like, I get a bad rap every once in a while because we hire a lot of Hispanic labor. Well, they show up every day. Like, they want to work. Like,
and it's a hard argument. It's hard for somebody to argue that, from your perspective.
Yes.
And like we talked about some of the the stigma. Yep. But you know what? It's reality. Is reality. You can live in fantasy. Yep. But you live in reality. Right. And so, and these kids too. Like when you say to a 15-year-old kid or a 14-year-old kid, you will never have it easier than you do right now. Yep. Oh no, yeah, and then you start laying down the math for them, and then you start, when they become senior. I said, in 6 months from now you're going to be on your own, and you just see the panic in their face. But I'm like, it's like a kid that's always in trouble. If just if it's so much easier if you just follow the rules. You work so hard at beating the rules. It just, it's like the guy that stays busy at work.
Yep.
I said, you're killing two birds with one stone. You're doing what you're supposed to do, and your time goes by quicker.
Yep.
When you're out looking at all these ways to get out of work, you have to figure out how to get out of that mess. And then, and so, like, honestly, Rushville is like, it's kind of like, it reminds me where I grew up. Now, times are different now.
Yeah,
I mean, everything's different. You got to be careful what you say. And, I mean, it's like, I learned real quick, like, who to be careful, what you say, because people take everything. So I joke around a lot.
I haven't learned that yet.
Well, you will. But like Warren, people take, when I say he's high energy, man, he's high energy. And some of the people like I've been 39 years. I've had a lot of principals. I've been through every vocational. I mean, everybody's leadership skills are different. But I'm going to tell you right now, I was in the military. I had good leadership. I had piss poor leadership. If you don't have somebody driving the ship, you're not going anywhere, man. And you look at why, like, schools, there's variables, like when I started Newcastle, there were 1,600 kids in the school. There's half that now.
Right.
Rushville used to have 1,100 or something like that. They're down. But that can change. It's a nice problem to have when you're planning on growing.
Yep.
And I think this town's going to grow if there's business and there's jobs here. You got to find people, and the school's going to grow. And things like these programs, are going to help bring people, whether you have a strong special ed facility, that brings people in that maybe aren't happy where they're at. If you have vocational opportunities, see, when you send all these kids down to these other vocational schools, like the law enforcement, they stay down there because they see the opportunity.
Yep.
Just like if you have building trades down there and you're a builder down there and said, hey, who's your best kid?
Yep.
He's staying there but if we can I've got some good kids this year. I've got some really good kids that I feel really comfortable with, which I haven't said this in a long time, that I would feel comfortable having you go to work for my friends.
Right.
Because I'm going to put my name on that. Well, I've got guys now that call me, hey, I need a guy. Yep. And I'll be honest, I said, for what you want, I can't give you a name. But when I do, like I have this kid he wants to be like a lineman. And I know the right people just because of my years of dealing with them. And one of the guys I used to have in school 30 years ago is the guy that hires him. I said, I got a kid, and he'll hire him. Yep. If he has a spot, he'll hire him. And that's the kid doing what he's expected to do to earn that, label to be considered for these jobs. Because like you said, you can make more as an electrician you can as a nurse.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you like working outside, it's just everybody's, like I taught school because I wanted to be on the same schedule. Because I knew in May I'm ready to do something else. So it allowed me to do something else. You do your day job, but you still have that cattle thing that kind of take your mind off things, right? Give you a whole nother set of worries.
Yeah.
But like honestly, I think you got the right guy with Mr. Cook. I don't really know Mr. Jameson, but I've not really. I think his mind's in the right place too. They want this town to grow and be successful, and I know that they're working on things. It doesn't change. You basically took your whole administration at the high school, and it's a full wholesale change. But like I said, I've been around education a long time, and I've got a good feeling. I like it here. I've never just dreaded going to work, and I look forward to it now. And that's if you can say that about what you do, then you're doing pretty good. And so,
well, I just what I hated when I was in school, I always felt like if you were a girl, you were shoved to either go do cosmetology or go do nursing.
Yeah,
and and it's like, and I tell kids this, I tell my team this, like, go do what you're supposed to do, because we need you in this society being the badass teacher that you are, more than being a handyman or contractor, even though you kind of enjoy that a little bit, but like you're pouring in, you're making a bigger impact. And like, I had a kid leave me probably 6 months ago, and he came to me, he's like, hey, I think I got a better opportunity, and you tell me never to not better myself. I was like, absolutely. Right. Like, and he stopped by the other day at the office, and that's what I want, like, but we got to show these kids opportunity, because I was very fortunate. 4-H and FFA, like Mr. Orm over there at the FFA building, Mr. Shanahan, like, they molded they helped mold. I had a fantastic dad. He drove beat into me. Work hard and be honest. Work hard, be honest. You know. Right. However, like the teachers involved, and you know, and this is no dig at the administration when I was in school, but there was hardly any support at FFA banquet.
You guys got a major
by the freaking
ag program.
By the darn it, the principals, the counselors, like it was like they never showed up. Now, that's where I met Mr. Cook at, you know.
Right.
So I mean, and like I said, that's just, you know, there's like what people have to realize is kids, and it's hard, is like just do the right thing, and then like there's so many connections from knowing the right people. Of like, you know, so many people that if somebody's interested in this and you've got an avenue that way. Like Adam's been with us for 3 years. He was in the freaking youth group. Him and Ellie. Ellie's been with me over 2 years now, or with us over 2 years. Like I knew. Right. I mean, I've known them for 15 years freaking now. So like they knew us. The greatest compliment Adam ever paid me was, well, you're the exact same guy I thought you always were. So that was a compliment to me that, you know, but, and, you know, just the kids showing up, you know, and the kids don't realize doing the little things is really what gets you in life where you need to go. Not anything, you know, big and flashy. And I mean, fortunately, you know, and also you're going to learn from good teachers and bad teachers.
Right.
You know?
Well, this pretty much sums it up. After all this time, so this summer when I was working on my house, I had a guy come to me, and I've known him for a long time. I had a son in school. He said, do you really think that all the stuff you do really changes, makes a difference? I said, no, I know it does.
Right.
He goes, really? I said, yeah. He goes, give me an example. I said, so I'm building a house right now. And I said, just quickly, I counted 6 kids that I had in school or former students have played a role in my house. Hired an electrician, excavator, plumber, a draftsman, another guy, framer guy. I mean, these are all kids I had in school. Did I ever think that they'd help me on my house someday?
Right.
No, but just the way it worked out. They stayed home. Okay, they didn't go off to Indianapolis. Now, some do, but they're local. They're running heating, cooling businesses. These are kids I had in school. The same kids that were giving you crap in high school, now grown up and adults. And I said, you know what? Smartest thing I ever did.
Yep.
And it's no different than you.
And it's not about that's never the intentions.
No.
But literally, I just had this conversation with a guy yesterday of like, when you give, it comes back tenfold, and you don't even. It's not the reason to give, but it's like there's a young man that's been helping me with some projects, and I coached him in youth football. What's he close to 30 now? So, I mean, freaking 18 years ago.
30.
So, I mean, whatever it was, you know, 15 years ago. Like,
but, you know, like a small town, like I go to a grocery store, I see people that, you know, or it's a dad or mom, whether it's from coaching and you know, all this and stuff. But, you know, it's like you said, if you put your best foot forward, you know, and that's like, you know, you don't get them all. You don't. I mean, if anybody says I get them all, you don't. Because some kids just, you know, but when you do that, you see, hey, these kids are doing well. Just like the biology teacher and their kid going off and becoming a doctor. Right. You know, you got to start him on that path, right? And it's kind of crazy, you know. It's like, you know, you think, God, you just like bang your head against the wall. And it's tougher now. I'm going to tell you, it's a lot tougher now to get to a kid. Right. Because there's so many distractions. When I grew up, there were no cell phones and internet, and we had 3 channels on our black and white TV.
Yeah, but I still think that there's a want from kids, you know, because I feel like sometimes I've had to be hard on some high school kids that's worked for me or been around me, but it's like they respect that, you know, and they want somebody to care, to be like, hey man, quit showing up 3 minutes late, like hold them accountable. Like nobody says that. Nobody's like, hey man, hold me accountable, you know, but and it gets excited about. But honestly, like there's just a different level. Like that young man's been helping me. Dylan's his name. He used to call me coach up until the last few years, and it was just funny. I'm like, did I coach you a couple of years in youth football? You know what I mean? But I was like, you know, now he calls me by my name, but it's like, it's no different to Mr. Orm.
Right.
Like when I was jackass teenager. I'd try to call him Stephen Blair Orm every once in a while by his full name, you know, just to mess with him. But now, out of respect, like he just called me last week. I was like, hey, Mr. O. Hey, Mr. Orm. Like, it's that respect level, you know, and he held me accountable a few times in high school that I wasn't really excited about then, but now I look back like, holy cow, like he loved me and he cared. He knows
what, you know, what you think you know. And that's like, you know, guys like him, though, we all have those guys.
Yep.
I mean, mine was Mr. Vardaman, you know, and you know, he's a guy who said, you know, you ought to be a school teacher someday. I said, you need to lay off the dope, dude, because there's no way. But, you know, you start processing things. And I think the biggest thing, my dad always told me, he says, you have to know you better than anybody else, what your interests are. You know, I was attention deficit, I was this and that, you know. And that was back when you had attention deficit disorder. Your teacher sent you out, run to touch a fence and run back and sat back down. You know, now they pump you full.
Yeah, now they want to give you medication.
And I did. I trusted in that. And I thought I was going to have a career in the military. That's what I always wanted to do. And I was in the military for a while, and I said, okay, that's not what I want to do.
What did you do in the military?
I was an armor. But my goal was to be a pilot.
Okay.
And my best friend went on to be a pilot, a helicopter pilot, and was in for 27 years. But I went to Ball State and ran track and got a taste of that. You know, like, meh.
Track or the girls at Ball State?
Both. But what I'm saying is my plans changed. Right, what I'm saying. And
don't worry, I wasn't going to ask any more questions to get you in trouble now.
Not on the radio. But my son, the same way. All he wanted to be was a doctor. He wanted to go to IU, and he took the MCATs and did all that. And he started job shadowing. He came in and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to Purdue for grad school." I said, "Okay." Which I'm like, again, I didn't say, like, you know, I didn't overreact. I said, I thought that's what he was going to do. He goes, you know, I changed my mind. Said, okay. And he's over there at Keystone now. And when I told him I was coming to Rushville, he said, the first thing he said was, man, they have one hell of an ag program there. Mm-hmm. And they said, it has some of the most experienced, rich farm ground.
Yeah.
And he said, he goes, so they're doing something right there. And as I found out, you know, I went to Newcastle. They said, this is Steve Alford went to high school. I go, well, who's that?
Right.
They looked at me like I had three heads. But I'm just saying, so that, you know, that people recognize that. And that doesn't happen because it just happens. It happens because people.
Well, and that's one thing that, as a leader, as a business owner, like, it genuinely takes, like, our team is so huge for as small of a company that we are. And
Sure.
some people think we're like, oh my gosh, can't believe you're that big. And yes, that's a compliment. But, you know, there is marketing people. There is, you know, production people. There's a ton of laborers. You know, there's this, it takes so much. So, like, to help Rushville grow, it takes a strong, you know, school system. It takes business. You know, and it actually takes small business that wants to continue to grow. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes I feel like politicians in general, they want to focus on the company that's going to create 250 jobs instead of the company that's going to try to create 3 or 4 jobs. I get it. It's sexier, it's shinier, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it takes so many people. It takes Mr. Cook's willingness to sell you to come out of retirement from Newcastle down here. It takes Mr. Cook to sell that. I believe it was a lady that came from Shelbyville for the graphics.
Right. Well, but those three employed companies turn into 1,000 people companies if it's done well. And one of my good friends, Jeff Smiley in Newcastle, he was homegrown. Dad owned the body shop. He took the body shop over in the 70s, grew it and developed all that. Gave it back to the community. Never left Newcastle, and he said, you surround yourself by successful people, it'll rub off on you. And there's a lot of truth to that, you know, because, you know, one person doesn't do it all.
Yeah.
And one person can have an impact on that, but it's, you know, and, you know, he talks about his failures, you know. Most successful people had struggle, right? I mean, but if you say you don't, you're lying.
Oh, yeah.
And he went through it, but he's standing on top now. And that's the same story with several of my friends. You know, these guys they were driven, they had a goal, they figured out how to get there, and they repeat it, you know. And, you know, some companies, like, they say, you know, I can make this company as big as I want. you could probably grow your business if you wanted to. You could spread, as people do. But again, that comes with growing pains and stress, and you have to have people. And your biggest asset are your people.
Yep.
And you know, I heard a thing the other day. Guys complaining about this. His best guy wants a 20% raise. Just give it to him, because you're going to have to pay 20% more to get somebody his equivalent, and not have his experience. You know, and there's a lot of people like the guy from Virgin Airlines. That guy said, "I take care of my people; they take care of me."
Right.
And if they take ownership, and I kind of believe in empowerment. I think that people should all have a voice. Like, whether you take their advice, at least they have the opportunity to express their, you know. And it kind of sounds like you're that guy. I mean, you keep an open mind and you take suggestions, but you're ultimately the boss. But it just, you want to work for somebody that you believe in.
Well, and I mean, that's one thing that when me and Emily started this, like I said, it's way bigger. It's way bigger than just us. And then, you know, like you start hiring people, and then it seemed like the beginning, like then you start hiring people with families, and then you see them little ones, or, you know, hey, they're running out of work to go to T-ball or whatever. It's like there's a whole nother level of, I don't really want to say weight on your shoulders, but it's like, okay, like Adam over here, he's bacheloring it up, you know. Jonathan's got 3 little ones at home, you know. So,
but you realize I've got mouths to feed. You're responsible for that, and that comes with a lot of pressure.
And I mean, and you know, but I've also learned real quick, and it's so hard to delegate. Is like, you know, I've even said we're getting ready. Jonathan's going to continue to run kind of the scheduling stuff. I just promoted the guy to do sales manager. So my wife was head of production. I was kind of head of sales. And I said, I'm going to start letting them guys meet together without either of the owners in there, because I know the conversation is going to be different. Because I don't want anybody in there, well, I think we need to answer it because of this. Because Bob's sitting there like, no, like, I know that they're going to have good ideas. I love Jonathan. Jonathan's great. Cracks me up because he's so much like me. He's always got to have something going on. He's messaged me the other night, and I responded, would you just shut your mind down for the rest of the night? And he started laughing at me, you know. But, I mean, yeah, you got to have something to work for bigger than yourself. And that is one thing about this generation, and I don't keep up with what's millennials and Gen X and all that crap. I can't keep that crap up, but I do know the younger generation that I'm hiring, they really do want to work more for a cause and a reason. Like one time, we do a lot of small business spotlights and stuff like that, and one time Adam came back just like, he was on cloud 9, and he's like, I just love being able to do this. And I was like, good. Because like it's truly like, my philosophy in business is if you give enough value, like, you know, it's funny. Like I'll have people that we give value to, we go do stuff for free, like helping other small businesses, and I'll hear them bad mouthing me or hear through the grapevine. I was just like, and then it's always funny because it seems like the other day somebody that took complete advantage of me and my wife 6 years ago, they referred a roof job to us. And like, was my feelings hurt for the way we got taken advantage of? Completely.
Right.
But I was just like, all right, that's just the good Lord. Like, you know, don't seek revenge. And that's real easy to say and real hard not to do sometimes. But at the end of the day, you know, just pouring into people and then letting them have a voice. And yeah, every once in a while you got to say, whoa. I'm still stroking the checks here. You know, how can we kind of meet in the middle, you know? But let's talk a little bit about.
Make sure to catch part 2 of Tenfold Return right here next Friday, September 20th.